Tonight, as the sun sets across the country, millions of Americans will gather in their living rooms, kitchens, and bedrooms, tuning in to the nightly news. For many, it's a daily ritual, a moment to catch up on the world, to hear the stories that shape our lives, and to listen to the voices that guide us through the headlines. But what most viewers don't realize is that a quiet revolution is underway, not in the stories being told, but in the very voices delivering them. It's a transformation that's happening behind the scenes, almost invisible, yet it's changing the way America hears its news. At the heart of this change is Filipino English, a way of speaking marked by its gentle rhythm, inviting warmth, and a melodic cadence that stands out from the traditional American broadcast voice. This unique sound is gradually reshaping the tone and feel of American newsrooms. This isn't about foreign accents taking over the airwaves. Instead, it's about American media opening its doors to a new, more effective way to connect with viewers. A style that feels both fresh and familiar, bridging cultures and generations. The shift began quietly, almost imperceptibly. News anchors started softening their consonants, adopting a more melodic delivery, and speaking in tones that felt less like a lecture and more like a conversation with a trusted friend. Behind this subtle transformation are Filipino voice coaches and dialect experts. They bring with them a communication style that values clarity, empathy, and a sense of community, qualities that resonate deeply with audiences seeking authenticity. The old model, the so-called voice of God anchor, with a deep, booming, and often distant tone, has started to feel outdated and disconnected from today's viewers. Audiences now crave warmth, sincerity, and a sense of genuine connection. They want to feel like they're being spoken to, not spoken at. In their search to rebuild trust and relevance, news executives began looking beyond America's borders for inspiration. They found it across the Pacific, in the Philippines, where communication is as much about heart as it is about information. Filipino English offered a new cadence and intonation, one that fosters connection, encourages understanding, and makes viewers feel seen and heard, not just informed. This isn't about faking an accent or putting on a performance, it's about adopting a style that feels more human, more approachable, and ultimately, more trustworthy. In a time when trust in media is at an all-time low, this story explores how Filipino English has quietly become the antidote to America's crisis of confidence in its newsrooms. We'll introduce you to the coaches leading this change, take you inside the training sessions where anchors learn to connect on a deeper level, and examine the data that shows how this new style is helping to rebuild trust, one broadcast, one conversation, at a time. The revolution may be quiet, but its impact is profound and far-reaching, touching every corner of the newsroom and every home that tunes in. Welcome to the new sound of American news, a sound that's warmer, more inclusive, and more connected than ever before. What sets Filipino English apart? It's not just an accent, it's a distinct, rule-governed variety. Its syllable-timed rhythm gives every syllable equal weight, creating a steady, musical cadence. This makes speech sound less rushed and more deliberate, helping listeners process information easily. Filipino English softens harsh consonants, making speech sound more approachable. The intonation often rises at the end of statements, inviting dialogue rather than dictating facts. This subtle questioning tone fosters collaboration and humility, making news feel inclusive. At its core is pakikipagkapwa-tao, a cultural value of empathy and connection. Filipino coaches teach anchors to speak through the camera, focusing on genuine human connection. The result, a measured rhythm, softer sounds, and a melodic, empathetic delivery that builds trust. That's the power of Filipino English in American newsrooms. To truly understand the unique character of Filipino English, we need to journey back more than 100 years, to a time when the Philippines was undergoing a dramatic transformation. The seeds of this linguistic evolution were planted in classrooms, where young Filipinos sat side by side, eager to learn from their new American teachers. After the Spanish-American War, the United States took control of the Philippines and made a bold decision. English would become the official language of education. This was a turning point, as it marked the beginning of a new era for the country's language and identity. To make this vision a reality, hundreds of American teachers, known as the Thomasites, traveled across the ocean. Their mission was to build a unified English-speaking nation, teaching not just language, but also new ways of thinking and communicating. Yet, English didn't simply overwrite the Philippines' rich tapestry of local languages. Instead, it blended and intertwined with them, creating something entirely new and dynamic. With over 170 languages spoken across the islands, Filipinos infused English with their own rhythms, expressions, and cultural nuances. The result was a vibrant, living language, American in vocabulary, but unmistakably Filipino in soul, melody, and cadence. Over time, English became more than just a colonial import. It evolved organically, becoming a language of daily life, business, and aspiration. Filipinos spoke it with confidence, adapting it to fit their needs and identities. Unlike in many other former colonies, Filipinos didn't just adopt English, they made it their own. It became a symbol of achievement and a source of national pride, woven into the fabric of modern Filipino society. This unique history has produced a vast community of English-proficient professionals, linguists, educators, communicators, and innovators who are recognized around the world for their expertise. Filipino English has grown alongside American English, but it carries its own emotional resonance and cultural flavor, reflecting the warmth and resilience of the Filipino people. Today, these Filipino experts are uniquely positioned to share their insights, teaching the subtleties and strengths of their English back to America and the world. In a remarkable twist of history, the student has now become the teacher, bridging cultures, shaping global communication, and redefining what it means to speak English. By the 2020s, American news faced a crisis of trust. The traditional detached anchor voice felt artificial and condescending. Executives realized that how news is delivered matters as much as what is said. They studied podcasters and influencers, but the breakthrough came from an unexpected place: Filipino call centers. American companies found Filipino agents more patient, polite, and empathetic, not just fluent, but effective communicators. The light bulb moment. Could these principles work in broadcast journalism? Media groups began hiring Filipino communication coaches, not to teach an accent, but to integrate melodic intonation, measured pacing, and inherent politeness. The goal: a new, relatable American broadcast standard. The results would soon speak for themselves. In the beginning, the idea of Filipino voice coaching was met with skepticism and even resistance from many veteran news anchors. For years, they had relied on traditional delivery styles, believing that authority and seriousness were the keys to credibility. The thought of changing their vocal habits felt risky and unfamiliar. However, when pilot programs were introduced in select newsrooms, the results were impossible to ignore. Viewer engagement soared, and trust in the anchors noticeably increased. Audiences lingered longer, and feedback was overwhelmingly positive. People described the anchors as warmer, more caring, and much easier to listen to. They felt as if the news was being delivered by someone who genuinely understood and respected them. The training itself was comprehensive, focusing on breathing techniques, pacing, softening harsh sounds, and using inclusive intonation. Coaches encouraged anchors to be mindful of their tone and to connect emotionally with their audience. Authenticity became the cornerstone of this new approach. Rather than forcing a single style, anchors were guided to discover their own natural voice within the framework, making their delivery feel genuine and relatable. It didn't take long for major networks to notice the shift. They quickly adopted the method, and soon, the Filipino English-inspired style was spreading across the industry, setting a new standard for broadcast journalism. The transformation was subtle yet profound. Viewers reported feeling a deeper emotional connection to the news, as if the anchors were speaking with them, not just at them. The news felt more human, more approachable. Recognizing the impact, journalism schools began updating their curricula. Courses now included empathetic communication, cross-cultural vocal patterns, and the unique principles of Filipino English. Aspiring journalists learned that a truly powerful voice doesn't just command attention, it forges a real connection with listeners, building trust and understanding. Over time, Filipino English principles became a foundational pillar in American communication education, influencing not just newsrooms but classrooms and boardrooms alike. What started as a niche experiment in a few studios quietly evolved into a nationwide standard, embraced by newsrooms from coast to coast. Today, the news finally speaks to its audience, not at them, bridging gaps, building trust, and making every story feel personal. The faces on screen are American, but many voices are shaped by Filipino experts behind the scenes. These coaches, often with advanced degrees and years of experience, guide anchors in real time, reminding them to soften, breathe, and connect. They review scripts for vocal flow, rephrase sentences, and craft the rhythm of entire news blocks. Their expertise is valued as much as top producers or writers. Demand for Filipino communication strategists has created a new, specialized career path. Top coaches now work in major U.S. cities, bridging cultures through the power of voice. Their influence is subtle but profound, embedding Filipino warmth into American daily life. One broadcast at a time, they're changing how America hears the news. The shift to a Filipino-influenced delivery wasn't just a hunch, it was backed by data. Studies showed viewers were more relaxed and receptive when listening to the warmer, melodic style. Biometric feedback revealed less stress. Surveys found anchors seemed more sincere, trustworthy, and empathetic. Importantly, credibility and authority remained strong, but now paired with approachability. Focus groups said the new style felt like a conversation, not a lecture. Viewers felt anchors cared about the stories and the people behind them. The Filipino value of pakikipagkapwa-tao, seeing oneself in the other, was coming through the screen. Trust was being rebuilt, one syllable at a time. For centuries, America exported its culture and language to the world. Now, the flow is reversing. American newsrooms are importing Filipino communication principles. This marks a shift from cultural imperialism to mutual learning and respect. The U.S. is embracing ideas from abroad, recognizing that good solutions can come from anywhere. The Filipino influence on American broadcasting is part of a global trend. K-pop, mindfulness, Scandinavian design, all examples of cross-cultural exchange. Filipino English, once seen as derivative, is now valued for its empathy and clarity. The student has become the teacher, and the world is richer for it. Linguistic evolution is a web, not a straight line. Influence now flows both ways, enriching every culture it touches. This story is about more than vocal technique. It's about empathy in a divided world. Filipino English in American newsrooms signals a shift from cold authority to a voice of community. The new style earns trust, connects, and says, "We're in this together." It makes news feel like a conversation, lowering defensive walls and inviting open minds. This shift is helping to detoxify public discourse, one syllable at a time. Empathy is not weakness, it's strength. The Philippines has given America a gift, a way of speaking infused with respect and shared humanity. This gift is healing the media-public relationship and making society kinder. As news evolves, the lessons of Filipino communication will endure. Clarity is kind, warmth builds bridges, and everyone wants to be understood. In this new cadence, we hear the promise of a more connected future.